special talk on Rolls-Royce by Mr. Kishore Jayaraman, President India and South Asia for Rolls-Royce. Uh, Great to have you, Mr. Kishore. Mr. Kishore has received an honorary officer of the Order of British Empire by Her Majesty the Queen and the British Deputy High Commission. The officer of the Order of the British Empire is awarded to distinguish regional and countrywide role in the field through achievements or services to the community, including notable practitioners known nationally. Mr. Jayaraman has been instrumental in driving the strategic focus and significant expansion across the company's civil aerospace, defense, and power system businesses for Rolls-Royce. A strong proponent of technology innovation, he has led establishment of Rolls-Royce digital and engineering capabilities in India that now contribute significantly to global projects. He also leads the growth of the company's manufacturing and sourcing out footprints in India through joint ventures with Hindustan Aeronautics Limited and Force Motors and other partnerships. He serves on several boards and is at the helm of industry committee and association and is a champion for sustainability and strategic ecosystem evolution for the present and future. Mr. Jayaraman is a board member of the UK-India Business Council, which supports UK business setup in India. He's also been instrumental in promoting bilateral ties by setting up strategic ecosystem for boosting manufacturing in India, enabled by UK technology. Mr. Jayaraman, we welcome you for this session. Now,
thank you very much.
Sure, wonderful. Thank you so much. This session is organized under the aegis of Aerospace Aviation Expert Committee of BCIC. I would like to acknowledge Chairman Mr. Arunakar Mishra, Co-Chairman Mr. Rakesh, and then Mentor Mr. Srinivasan Balasubramaniam for helping us to have this session organized. Now, I also acknowledge our annual sponsors for the entire year through Bueller, Fundamax, MTR, Sri Dharmasthala Manjunatheshwara Institute of Management Development, Sona Group of Companies, TVS, and Wipro. With this, I would like to now hand over to Mr. Arunakar Mishra to initiate the session. Over to you, Mr. Mishra.
Thank you, Niranjan. And we are great having with us today Mr. Kishore Jayaraman from Rolls-Royce. We were thinking what kind of topic we should request him to cover. So we thought we will get all the insights from him about the history of Rolls-Royce, what kind of inspirations companies can draw from Rolls-Royce, and then what is the plan here in India, how to what is being planned with industry, what kind of cooperation, what can we co-create in the changing scenario. So these are some of the things we thought if you could share with us, it will be of great value to us. I am directly and indirectly connected with Rolls-Royce because I think I had mentioned to Mr. Jayaraman, my son works for Rolls-Royce in Derby. And another thing you may not know, that Mr. Sridhar Ramchandran, who is related to you, he lives in Frisco in US. I was told he is your uncle, Sridhar Ramchandran. Now he is my elder son's neighbor in Frisco. So these are the small bits of direct indirect relationship. So may I request Mr. Jayaraman to share your thoughts on these, and you can extend in other directions what you feel is good for the Indian industry. One more line about BCIC. BCIC, although it is a Bangalore Chamber of Commerce, it is becoming global. Slowly, it is expanding its tentacles beyond Bangalore. And recently, there has been a office set up in Japan, in Tokyo, and there are offices beyond Bangalore. So it is spreading its wings and becoming very active, one of the very active chambers in India, and growing continuously. And covers, it has got 22 expert committees and work in variety of direction. Our committee is on aerospace and aviation, in which some of us are there. You know, our Mr. Srinivasan and Rakesh. So please, over to you, Mr. Jayaraman.
Hey, thank you, Mr. Mishra. And thank you to BCIC for this opportunity. And I come in here really, without any preparations or without any PowerPoint slides for you. And I think it's always good to be able to speak from the heart, be able to share with you what my mind can bear and hold, and then be interactive so that at the end of the day, it's about sharing, and I'll learn some things out of this session as well. And interestingly, Mr. Mishra, it's a pleasure to note that your son is with us in Derby, and it's really good for us. And also, my cousin, I believe it's my cousin, Sridhar Ramchandran. And
Okay,
yeah, he was in Austin, Texas, but in any case, I found his new location thanks to you. So, but in any case, I mean, when I look at Rolls-Royce, I've been with this company for the last 10 years. And I thought I'll share with you Rolls-Royce, what we do, where we are, who we are, and then talk about what Rolls-Royce believes is the future, talk about what we believe as Rolls-Royce India is the future, and then sort of leave it for some question and answer time. How much time do I have, Mr. Mishra? You're on mute. You're on mute. No, you're on mute.
It's about 30 to 40 minutes. And
Okay.
then we can have question and answer, or you could make it flexible. It is basically sharing of your experience, your insight. So it could be anything stretchable, 20 to 40 minutes, and then we can have question answer.
I am very happy to be less than entertain more questions, so I think it's a lot easier. So, starting off with the Rolls-Royce story, I think a lot of people know about it. But first thing I always say to people is that, look, we are not the Rolls-Royce cars. If anybody thought we were cars sitting in the audience or listening to us, please make sure we're not in cars. We are in the aerospace and defense segment, and now we are in propulsion technologies. Primarily aerospace, defense, and also in power generation. These are three major businesses. So Rolls-Royce has civil aerospace, defense, power systems. Three major businesses globally. And in each of these businesses, we try to be the number one or number two and make sure that our products are technically the most advanced products, commercially the most economical products, and at the end of the whole thing, it's about life cycle for us. And everything comes to life cycle because what we sell is one thing, that is capital expense. What eventually is required to maintain some of our products, the operating expense can really be big if the products are not very good. And that's the spirit with which we make every single thing. We look towards zero warranty costs for us, and we look towards zero flaws for our customers. So that's the whole philosophy in our propulsion systems. Now in civil aerospace business, if I look at the civil aerospace business, we have the Trent engines. And the Trent engines have been in service since the 80s. And then some of our engines like the Trent 700 are extremely popular. And they have been on aircraft for well over 100 million miles. So really the Trent 700 series is the workhorse, tested, proven, and continues to serve us very well. Now, beyond that, we have the Trent 800, we have the Trent 500, 600, 800, 900, 700, and now the latest technology is the XWB, extra wide body. And then we also have the Trent 1000, which is also for the wide body aircraft. Around 10 to 12 years back, we decided that our future has to be decided on whether we're going to do wide body or we're going to do narrow body. We don't want to be everywhere. And at that point, we had to make a decision for us to say, where will we be good? We figured it's a wide body. So our engines are only on the wide body aircraft. So the Trent XWB today actually is on the Airbus 350. And it's an exclusive product on the 350. And it is the most efficient product of its category and is the best product for a very long distance haul. And we also have the Trent 1000, which is on the Boeing Dreamliners. And again, it's a wide body product and it's used for really long haul flights, like from India to the US, furthest corner towards the West Coast. And these have been serving us very well. And all these, the one interesting thing about Rolls-Royce is that every 8 months we certify a new engine. And we've been doing this for the last 10 years. So we come out with new products and new technologies and keep ourselves ahead of the curve all the time. And in the civil aerospace business, we've been very, very successful doing that. And now with the wide bodies, we are right neck to neck with GE, who is a major participant in the wide body market. And beyond that, it's Rolls-Royce and GE between Boeing and Airbus. And pretty much that's the game that we have in terms of the wide body market. And the world actually is going towards wide body because more and more people travel. We are at 7 billion people today. And I think even if it grows by 1 more billion people, we're going to have really a huge need for wide body aircraft. Yes, the narrow bodies are required for short hauls, for domestic, but even domestic will move into wide bodies, which is why the Indian Civil Aviation Ministry, with the Honorable Minister of India, has said wide body are going to be the need of the hour. India has to fly global. Indian airlines have to be international. And for that, they're going to have to transport more people, and they're going to have to buy wide body aircraft. So our business future looks very bright in India. Yes, we have to compete, but we are ready for the competition. It keeps us all honest. And I am very happy to say that because then we can actually prove our product and win on total merit. The second business we have is defense. And in defense, we've been privileged because our defense business, the biggest business is in US, and then in the UK, and then in the rest of the world. Interestingly, India also, we have a very big defense business. And defense for us is split into defense aerospace, marine defense, and land defense. So we are in land, sea, and air in defense globally and also in India. And so when we look at the aerospace defense, the Lockheed Martin C-130Js, P-130Js, all the 130 series products have Rolls-Royce engines. And then we have the combat aircraft. So we have many combat aircraft in the US and in UK, the EJ200s on the Eurofighters. And these are proven products which are war proven, combat proven products that are existent for serving the globe. As far as India goes, we have the Jaguars in there, we have the C-130Js in there, we have the Hawk trainers in there. We have a total of about 250 engines that are actively in service today as I speak, plus the spares and everything else that's around us. So total engines, if we take land, sea, and air in India, is about 750 engines that we have in India from the defense space. And globally, it's in the thousands. And so defense is a very big business for us. And defense also, I'll come to it a little bit later about the future programs. And so we are looking at what will be the best opportunity for Rolls-Royce global point of view and Rolls-Royce India point of view, and India as a country. The third business I want to quickly touch upon is the Rolls-Royce Power Systems business. It's also called as a Rolls-Royce Solutions business. And this is based out of Germany, a company called MTU. We acquired it in partnership with Daimler in the beginning, and then we wholly acquired it. And so Rolls-Royce Power Systems or Rolls-Royce Solutions is now a 100% owned subsidiary of Rolls-Royce PLC. And they are into power generation products, whether it be standby or whether it be steady power. And basically, they are used in the oil and gas business because of the stringent needs in that application. And these are electronically controlled, really high-speed engines that are able to quickly come up to their optimum speed levels and deliver the power requirements as promised. In India, they are used in airports, they're used in five-star hotels, and they are used in convention centers. And so in many niche applications is where we have been using it in India. Now, the regular business also, we said we want to participate in the Indian market, but we are slowly advancing ourselves. I'll talk a little bit more about India and Rolls-Royce in India after this. Three businesses, civil aerospace, defense, power systems. Globally, I touched upon it. And we spend about 1.4 billion pounds annually. We spend about 1.4 billion pounds annually on research and development. And now, if I transfer it to India, Rolls-Royce has been in India since 1932. So in 1932, the first Tata Mail aircraft had Rolls-Royce engines in it. It flew from Karachi to Mumbai, right? And it is pre-independence. So there was all one India at the time, or it was all one landmass at that point in time. And the Tata Mail was the first one. Right behind it, Indian Air Force in 1936. And then the Indian Navy, followed by that, had their first aircrafts powered by Rolls-Royce engines. 1956, we partnered with HAL. And our partnership goes very strong even today. right? And so since 1956, we've been partnering with HAL, technology transfer. People are talking today about technology transfer as though it's rocket science, but in reality, we've been doing it since 1956, right? And then business was mostly selling, and business was mostly powering the aircrafts that are required for the need of the hour, Jaguars for combat. Trainers were not that big. And then finally, around 2005 onwards, we started looking at the trainer aircraft, the Hawk trainers. These are the intermediate jet trainers. And so these were very good because the whole Air Force was moving from strength to strength. These became the need of the hour. We were able to serve that market. We got it. Around 2010, we sold the C-130Js, Lockheed product, and there were 12 of them. The first tranche, it was going to be about 3 or 4 tranches. The first is what has happened so far. So, or 2 tranches might have happened if you make it a 6 each, but there's a total of about 12 aircraft today. And these are really, as you noticed when the Prime Minister said the aircraft can land on road on the Lucknow highway, the C-130J with the Prime Minister on board landed on just asphalt turf. That's how rugged they are, right? And for us, it landed in DBO. So landing and taking off from DBO is one of the hardest. It's the shortest airfield at the highest altitude. So it's a very niche, special, good, great product that we have. Now, after this, so the Jaguars, the Adore engines continue on, Hawk trainers with advanced Adore engines, the C-130Js with our AE 3100, 2100 products. This is what we have in the aerospace side. In the marine side, we have engines from MTU, and we have technologies from our defense business that can propel ships from fast patrol vehicles all the way up to aircraft carriers. So the Queen Elizabeth aircraft carrier that was in India is the very latest in aircraft carrier technology. It's fully integrated, fully electric propulsion system. And it is, normally an aircraft carrier has about 2,000 people. The Queen Elizabeth carrier operates with 600 people, with all the latest technologies in there, with IFEP, which is all electric, semi-electric propulsion systems, right? We have our MT30, the Marine Technology 30 product in there, right? We have the MTU engines that can participate in that, but it depends. It's a competition between MTU and Wärtsilä in that world. And then the MT30 competes with GE with the LM2500s, right? So the products are, we have the necessary products which are very important for the country. But what is even more important is that these products are the most efficient, most reliable, and definitely safe, right? Then in terms of the land products, the Arjun tanks, the Mk1 tanks have MTU engines. We are looking at the Mk2. And we will look at how much more we can do in terms of the engines requirement in the Army side, right? We can look at FICVs. We can look at other products as they come out in the future. But what it's going to require in all these things, and I will talk a little bit more about this as we move into the future programs. And in terms of, if we go into land, air, and sea, we talked about India, where India actually, Rolls-Royce started participating, what Rolls-Royce actually did, all the way up to current scenario. What we have not talked about is the operations side. So it is very nice for Rolls-Royce to say, I sold this, I formed a technology transfer agreement with HAL. I've been selling after that for a while, but then around 2005, we decided we need to be in the country where we want to make it a home country. So India is considered a home country for us. And if India is going to be a home country, I think it is extremely important for us to understand that we have to be part of the society. We have to be integrated into the business operations locally. It is okay to have operations in Derby and Bristol and Dahlewitz and Indianapolis. But what is extremely important is that we also have similar operations in India. So in 2005, we started operations with engineering services with Quest and then with TCS. And then we sort of said that from here, we need to figure out how to do it. I joined around 2012, and that model seemed to be moving along at a good pace. We were about 600 engineers. Today, as we speak, outsourced engineers, we have 2,500. Right, it's about 10 years since that time. And at that time, when I joined in 2012, we were talking about a joint venture with HAL, which was still about to take off, and the signing happened just a month before I came on board. And so 2012 March, we formed the joint venture, which we are seeing Mr. Srinivasan here, who is the CEO of our joint venture with HAL. And so that's the first joint venture we did for, it was supposed to be a defense venture, but we decided that it made more sense for us to make it a civil aerospace venture and become a 50-50 JV. And we have been, our relationship with HAL, that's a pure testament because we formed the technology transfer agreement. Then we've been doing MRO services with them for the Air Force in order to enable them locally. And then we were following it up. We formed the joint venture to make civil aerospace parts that are made here in Bangalore, quality tested in Bangalore, taken to Derby and Dulwich, assembled directly into the engine. So it is not like we are doing something here that is unfinished product that's finished elsewhere in the world. It's a fully finished product that goes straight into the engine. And that is confidence with the team here. It does not happen everywhere unless there's confidence. So whenever people tell me, I mean, do you think India is able to do this in the aerospace technology? Do I have that capability? I'm a firm believer capabilities exist. I don't see a problem. And so today, I'll talk a little bit more about IAMPL, but then before I get into that, engineering services to the joint venture IAMPL, followed by our digital team in Bangalore. So as we moved along the curve and we said we're going to do more and more in India, it is the capabilities that we can get in India in terms of digital is just tremendous. And so we said we're going to get into the digital technologies. We hired a team under Hari Ganesan, who's also Bangalore based, and they were struggling to figure out what can they do. We had nice, great people with tons of knowledge on machine learning, artificial intelligence, deep learning, all the technical buzzwords that could be in digital. The question was, how do we apply it to our businesses? So they started saying that, okay, let's create data analysis as the beginning. We have tons of data. We produce petabytes of data in our manufacturing processes. How do we analyze it? So we said, okay, so we're going to put a team in Bangalore. And we were in partnership with TCS. We started to build that team. And that team today, as we speak, is about 130, 140 people. It's probably going to grow to maybe 200 to 300 people soon. Right? So it is a very, very robust team that has proven. And we said, how do we measure this? Measurement is always in terms of what is the deliverance to the businesses. And when we looked at our businesses, they said, look, we have these issues in terms of our repairs. How can you analyze the data, tell us? So they go analyze that. Services, how can we minimize the service times so that the engines can be on the aircraft for longer? How do we minimize the visits to the shop? So how do we understand what the market future is going to look like? All these things became programs for us. And they were able to save millions and millions of dollars for the company by optimizing everything. That is how good the team in India is able to deliver, the digital teams in India. We have excellent joint venture, which Srini has. We have an excellent digital team that is out there. We said we want to grow our business services. Normally, all the companies, when they come to India, they start with IT. And they'll say, I want my IT needs to be met in India, or I want to meet my call center needs in India. We started off in India with engineering services. A lot of companies do that also. I'm not taking that away from them. But we started with engineering services. We started with joint ventures. We started with digital. So we look at the latest and greatest and what should be happening in India and start moving in that area. And we are looking at what more we can do, advancing ourselves in this journey. Now, as we moved, and because of the success of the IAMPL joint venture, our power systems business wanted to also localize their products. We lifted an entire facility from Oberlingen, Germany, and we moved it to Pune in partnership with Force Motors. Force Motors and Rolls-Royce have a joint venture called FMTU in Pune. S1600 series engines, which is between 450 kilowatts all the way up to about 900 kilowatts engines are being made in Pune. And we lifted and shifted an entire factory, started the operations here. Unfortunately, COVID set us back. But regardless of that, we are now back in full swing. We make more engines out of that facility today than the facility ever did when it was in Germany. And we have the capability to double that, and we will double that in the next 6 months to a year. Right? So it is a good story for us. Right? And did we not have any problems? Am I just here promoting all the good stories of India and what Rolls-Royce's successes have been? Let me be honest with you. Srini came on board with us when IAMPL was a joint venture, which we almost shut down. It was a really, really difficult situation for us. Srini was hired to turn it around and he turned it around. Force Motors, when we had the joint venture pre-COVID, we are almost ready to get started. 2 years into it, no sales happening, people not trained, attrition risk. We started saying, how do we get it back on shape? How do we get this going? It was not at all easy. Those are business challenges. Those are environmental challenges. And we all learn as we go through it. And the learnings are no different in India than it has been for us anywhere else in the world. And so for us, as far as we're concerned, the two joint ventures are a great success. Our engineering services model eventually culminated with 600 people we hired for ourselves as captive engineers. They created patents out of our facility, and they were able to actually work on the XWB design, on the Trent 1000 problem solving, and they were involved with the latest and greatest of technologies. We formed a partnership with Infosys, and now those engineers work alongside us, along with Infosys. And so that is the latest model that we have worked on, because we believe that there's got to be a way that we can have a certain thing for NPI programs, have a certain thing for operational programs, XWB 1000, they're all operational today. So that's where we have evolved ourselves into. And it's a total partnership that we have with Infosys today. So now we work with Infosys, we work with TCS, we have worked with Quest, and we continue to work with them. And so, overall, the model of collaboration, the model of working with companies locally, a really great success for us. Now with the joint ventures with HAL and with Force Motors, private company on one side, MOD, PSU on the other side, right? The cultures are very different. Their way of thinking are very different. Their needs are very different, but we had to adapt to all of those. But now what does the future hold for us? We've done technology transfer. We've done operations side of things. We have done joint ventures. We have done sales. So now where does it lead to for the future? When we look at our future, I firmly believe if we are serious about Atmanirbhar Bharat, India has to co-create, India has to co-develop, and India has to co-manufacture. And I believe that the future is going to be with these two letters, CO, in front of anything that we do. IP has to be owned in India. Supply chains can be created when there's IP ownership. Exports can increase when you have IP ownership. And it should be done in such a way that we're not spending years and years and years learning the technology, building it, but that's where the core part of it comes in. Collaboration is the key to it. We are strongly proposing that we should work on a medium combat, advanced medium combat aircraft engine. We are strongly proposing we should work on a marine engine, marine propulsion systems. We're strongly proposing we got to be in the electrical segment and in the nuclear segment. On that topic, in our future programs globally, two big things come to mind. Number one is our electrical business. We have opened up an electrical wing to all our businesses that sits on the side of the business. We have developed an engine, all electric, for the first world's electric aircraft that we flew very recently. It beat the world speed records for electric aircraft. Now we have to scale it up. Now we have to make sure it flies long distances. Now we have to improve upon the technologies. We are already on that journey. But along the journey, we found out that helicopters, put an electric, complete all electric helicopters, it's called as the, as of today, it's called as the eVTOL or the electric vertical takeoff and landing. And we have partnerships around the world for this product, US, South Korea, UK. We have many companies that have already partnered with us. And these are going to be as air taxis. And I don't see a reason why India cannot have these air taxis. And the Civil Aviation Minister is already talking a lot about it. And we want to partner with local companies in that segment. We want to see what we can do with the local companies and take that forward, right? And then the electric aircraft is still a little long time away. It's not easy because the electric automobiles, if they stop on the side of the road, it's easy to just get down and walk away. But in an electric aircraft, I mean, if anything fails, I don't think there's a walkaway spot there. So I think that kind of creates a little bit of a problem for us, but we're trying to figure out how to make that happen. And I think that'll happen. It's just a matter of time. It'll come in and we'll make that happen. So at the end of the day, when I look at future programs, India's needs, Atmanirbhar Bharat, I think at the end of the day, we have to look at IP generation. And I believe that very strongly that is going to be the way forward for India. And companies that are willing to collaborate like Rolls-Royce should be encouraged because we can lead the way into making sure that a lot more companies can join us as we continue to develop it. And then the models can always exist of technology transfer, of assembling in India, making in India, selling to India. All these things can happen. But then our secure future is dependent on co-development and co-creation. And having said that, that's really the way I see it. I see us scaling constantly forward with many different methodologies for business collaboration. And I see us having the talent we need. Capacity is never an issue, and capability has been sometimes a challenge, but it has never been something that we have not been able to overcome. Overall, I think it's a good story. SMR, small modular reactors, is another area we're working on. The UK government has funded us, and these are 400 megawatt power projects. And I think as we go forward in the world, these nuclear projects, because of their size, is going to be less onerous. And we are hopeful that as time goes by, there'll be a lot more SMRs. It's already happening in the US, the UK, and I think it'll pick up steam, and we'll see more and more of that, even in India. So I think I've continuously talked for about 30 minutes, and luckily I did not break a cough more than once or twice. So I'm very proud of myself. And now it's time to listen to what you guys have to ask me or tell me. Thank you so much, Mr. Mishra. Back to you. You're on mute.
So thank you, Mr. Jayaraman. You covered a host of things, defense, land, commercial, in for the world, for India, and future, and also electric. So many things, lots of things on plate for Rolls-Royce. And so what, and the most important thing for all of us is that you are thinking co before the various other verbs like co-creation, co-development. That is great to hear. I think we will leave the floor for question answer, but before that, if you could give us some bit of insight on, you have been working with usually larger companies like Infosys, TCS. Quest is not that large, but fairly medium-sized companies. How can smaller companies participate into your system? Is there a scheme of how to give ideas or whatever ideas people have about Rolls-Royce and what they can contribute? Is there some system to collect such things? And what do they have? Number two was a general one. What does Rolls-Royce think about future of engines like hybrid engines or the sustainable future, the different kind of fuel? Uh, a bit of that for our general information, and then we'll ask other people to ask questions.
Okay. Yeah, sure. I think the first question was about how do we work with small companies, or how can small companies work with Rolls-Royce? See, part of usually what happens is in the aerospace business, whenever somebody wants to get into manufacturing, it is a little bit harder because the investment required and the return on the investment timeframes are very different. And I think it is really hard because of the documentation, because of the follow-throughs, because of the rigor of the processes for someone to just be able to say that, look, I want to make a part for you. Because when they say they want to make a part for us, that's just the beginning of another 24 months of very rigorous process control, documentation control, and enabling it through multiple regulatory bodies around the world. So for us, when we get some of these companies, we're seeing large companies because from an engineering point of view, Quest started with us. But then TCS was also building engineering services in aerospace and defense. Infosys was also building. So it's like every company has an arm of aerospace and defense. And it is not because we like to work with big companies. It was just because the small companies are focused on different other things. And what we wanted to focus on, we found it with these companies. It was just at that particular point in time what was available and what was most suitable for us. That was all it was. And we worked with lots of other small companies as well, which we consolidate as we go along over a period of time. In terms of any advice I want to give about being a partner to Rolls-Royce type of companies in the manufacturing side, there is, we categorize it as tier 1, tier 2, tier 3, just like in every other segment. But I think unless someone really climbs up from one tier to the other tier to the other tier, it's going to be very hard to just jump in as a tier 1 player in aerospace, engine manufacturing program. It is even if very large companies will find it very hard to sort of come in there, and everybody starts somewhere. And that is because, like I said, that's because the rigor is just too high. But that doesn't mean one cannot do it. One has to learn to take baby steps, start walking, then start running, and then start flying. And it's a lot of companies have done that. We work very closely with Bharat Forge. We work very closely with Tassel. Right? Bharat Forge is the world's second, or they own 50% of the market share in forgings, but they're doing aerofoils today. Right? So it's a big jump from forgings into aerofoils, but they're able to do that. Right? So it is not impossible for people to just have adjacent businesses that are going to be in the aerospace sector. And I think with Tamil we worked, with Tassel we work, Godrej is making brackets for us. So it starts small, and then it starts growing bigger and bigger and bigger. Now, when they are doing it, they will be looking for people who will be tier 2. That's another place to start. Then there are tier 3, which is really beginning maybe. So that's the way we do it. And Srini is also working very closely, trying to figure out how he can outsource some of his stuff. Right, and in that realm of things, he will look at which companies can make sure that when they are done with their job, he doesn't have to worry about the quality of that stuff when he ships it out. And he doesn't have to worry about the document trade when he ships it out, and he doesn't have to worry about tolerances when he ships it out. He will worry about all that. So that's how it builds. So that's how the small companies, in my view, can get into this game. Now, your second point on sustainability. Look, sustainability for us is number one. We have signed up to the 2050 Net Zero Charter of the UN. Right, and in that process, we have already started. So for us, it is not about just intent. We have the intent to do it. Now it is about the implementation. And we are in the implementation phase today. When we speak about it, we are working with Shell, with all the oil companies, BP, and we make sure that sustainable alternate fuels, our engines are able to fly with those. With Airbus, so Airbus is part of that program as well. And then basically these engines, we are applying SAFs and trying to make sure that 100% of our existing engines will be able to work on SAF by 2023. 2030, we are thinking we'll have all our new products and services will be 100% SAF compatible. We are looking at it and saying by 2025, a lot of our factories should be sustainable. They may not get to total net zero, but we want them to be in the journey. Finally, it's a journey between today, fossil fuels, tomorrow, sustainable fuels, and the longer term with all electric. So it is about starting the journey. It is about showing what we have achieved and constantly improving upon it. And finally, going to a stage where we are net zero. So we still believe by 2050 or much earlier, we will be able to get to that point. And this is not just our aerospace business. This is also applicable to our defense products. This is also applicable to our power systems products. So we are already operating on EVO, right? Vegetable oils with our MTU engines. Right? We are working on microgrid solutions for our MTU engines. With microgrids, you can optimize the power that you want to produce using what fuels. We are looking at battery solutions. We are looking at fuel cells. So we are already on our journey towards hybrid, and it's already happening where we have projects. And we are on our journey to a sustainable net zero UN charter.
Thank you very much, Mr. Jayaraman. I will now request the floor, whoever is attending from the audience, if you would like to ask, please mention your name and organization, and then please ask. You can, I think, Rupa, you will be able to allow them to speak directly into the system.
Yes, we would be able to. Yeah.
Yeah.
Hand going up.
So while I wait for people to raise their hand, I have a couple of questions I see in the chat box. And if you feel it's much easier for you to put it in the chat box, I can read it as well. So, the first question, great to know about Rolls-Royce globally as well, Indian business. What are the disruption you foresee in your business? Well, if COVID has not caused us enough disruption, I'm not sure what else is going to cause disruption further. But to be honest with you, COVID kind of hurt us big time because the whole international flights all got grounded. Wide body aircrafts were, they're still coming on up to speed and to the old levels. And so countries, sort of blocking everything. It was a messy period for a couple of years. And I think that was a big crisis that we had to overcome. The second thing was the Ukraine sort of, the war that's going on between Ukraine and Russia. And that causes a lot of disruption and pain as well. But it's not on the same scale as COVID because there are still people moving around the world and that is still happening. I mean, in the future, nobody can predict what the future holds, but what we can try to do is look around the corners as much as we can. And we try to do it, but we want to stay focused on the core. And the core for us is safe, reliable, and highly efficient. And we have to stay focused and true to our beliefs and values. And I think once that happens, any problem that comes our way, we'll have to deal with it and make sure we're able to address it. The next question I see, where does Rolls-Royce vision for India compare with what China is doing with reference to manufacturing capacity in the aerospace industry in the next 10 to 15 years? Yeah. So I think someone has to mute. Someone has to go on mute. It's just a little loud there. But anyways, so I think, look, I don't look at it as each country is different. And I don't want to look at it as I want to compare India with China and say I want to be like China. Right from day one, I've been saying that, look, I mean, other countries have advanced because of various reasons, and that's a different conversation altogether. But what I see today is that, India is completely a free democracy, a very bustling, young democratic dividend, and a country that has tremendous amount of demand. Let's not forget that at all. And I think that is what is going to keep us growing with our GDP. And if GDP is growing, it means that somehow, somewhere, people are getting wealthier. And so as long as equality exists and the growth happens at all levels, not just at a few people or a few sections of the people, if there is inclusive growth, I think automatically there will be more and more and more things that happen in India. And now with reference to China, yes, the world is always looking to see a China plus one strategy. And that's not something I'm saying. This is a strategy that everybody is talking about today. And it is a good thing to hedge. Hedging is a very popular word in the finance community. And I think hedging is becoming a very popular word in the manufacturing community. And so the question is, what does India want to do with this opportunity? And in a lot of ways, companies are very eager to do business in India. And India should also rise up to it and saying India wants to do business with all these companies, which I see a lot of government folks speaking, going out, lobbying for it, pushing for it, incentives, amazing amount of stuff that's going on, right? And I think India will have their fair share of manufacturing in the next few years to come. But it is not going to happen by somebody pulling India. It's going to happen by India pushing as well. It is both sides. And the next one, urban mobility, electric aircraft. What will be RR's roadmap in India on this topic? What are your plans to develop an ecosystem in this new concept? Well, number one is that, look, for us, electric is a new world. Right now, we're testing the electric aircraft. We do get a lot of government funding. And I think the difference between the Western world and India is that there's not enough of government funding that happens towards programs in India, whether it be defense programs or it be civilian programs with the private sector. And the government does sponsor all the defense programs through DRDO, and there are many different labs and organizations. But eventually, we'll get to a mode where private sector will also get their fair share of this program funding. Once that happens, then it should be followed by program funding. Should not be like, okay, I give the money, somebody develops something. What is the market going to be? And I think it should be followed up by saying, okay, here's the program funding. If this product comes into existence, you're going to have so many orders. Right? And then if there are so many orders and they see the first round, then the trust factor goes up, more and more of this will happen. And I think that is another thing. Just like we talk about the co-creation concept, I think this whole thing of programs and developing products and services and IP within India with the proper funding is another key area for us to look at. And then along with it, I think if you look at, if I were to make it a little smaller and say that electric aircraft, what would be our roadmap? I think eVTOL, we need companies who are going to be in the air taxi business, who are going to be running more and more of this helicopter type service around the country. They need to participate, and we are very happy to partner with them. We have no problem. We are partnered, like I said, in South Korea, in UK, in US, and it's growing. It's really moving fast. Even Uber now has gotten into air taxis. So there's nothing to stop India from moving the needle in that area. But we are still trying to figure out what is the best way to do it. Once we get there, then I believe that eventually the supply chain build out, the services build out. These are all natural progressions towards a business that starts to kick off. In terms of Make in India, like I said, we have 2 joint ventures with this thing. I mean, we don't have to put our own manufacturing facility. I'm a firm believer, if you have the right partner, it always works out. And I think HAL has been fantastic partners for us. Force Motors, they're great partners for us. And I think at the end of the day, it is about collaboration and a common vision between the partners. And I think that exists on both our JVs. In fact, to the point that in the JV that we have in Bangalore, Srini is operating at capacity, right? And so he is really pushing the envelope in terms of how well the plant can be utilized, and he would want to look at what can he do more, right? So this is a success story for us, and I think the same success story is showing up on the other side in Pune, but not at the same pace at which the Bangalore aerospace story is coming along right now. So I think, it is just a question of Make in India for us is happening, and technology transfer has happened. I am waiting for that co-creation. If you ask me one question, what am I waiting for? Co-creation, IP generation, Rolls-Royce, Indian government organization, public sector, private organization, co-creating a product. And at the end of the day, that product being available for India, available for exports, supply chain in India, services in India, going to the globe. That is my dream if it happens. And it seems like a dream that, is not too far away. So you say technology has been transferred in India since 57. Oh, by the way, 56. But even today, we are dependent on others. Why? Choices we make. It's as simple as that. I mean, when we said Swadeshi movement, I mean, everybody said, I don't care. I'm going to burn all the clothes I have, and I'm going to go through this movement. When you said Satyagraha movement, we said that this is it. Create that burning platform and then go for it. COVID vaccine, burning platform. So usually, unless there is a burning platform, it is not just India or Indians, it is the way the world works. And if you go back in your history and you look around, you will see everybody eventually came out, every country, if they think that they're advanced today, there was a burning platform that drove them in that direction. And you can go read it up with every single country in the world. So I think that's about the last question I had up there.
We have one hand that's raised. Money Benjamin, is it? Okay.
Yes.
Money, can you go and ask your question, please?
Yes, sir. Thank you. Can you hear me, sir? Can you hear
Yes,
me?
we can hear you. Yes, we can hear you. Please go ahead.
Firstly, I introduce myself. I am Wing Commander MP Benjamin, retired from the Air Force and also from HAL as my second career. And thank you for your lovely talk. But I've got 2 small little points. One pertaining to the organization for whom I work now, that is CIT, Society of Indian Aerospace. Yes. On behalf of Dr. Krishnadas Nair, I would like to extend my greetings to you because you have been a good friend of CIT for so many years. I was told I'm a newcomer here. Yes, sir. Thank you. And
it's my privilege.
Yes, sir. And Mr. Arunakar Mishra had asked a specific question which you have answered. So I will not bother you with a question which is meant for my MSMEs, which are our members. But I would like to put a small request as far as CIT is concerned. We do conduct events, something like the annual supply chain conference and things like that, where we look forward to people from reputed organizations like you to come and speak. It's not that we want you to speak, but people who are in the right areas of supply chain for the aero engine industry. So we have one coming up in January next year. We would like to extend our invitation for one of the right speakers to be deputed for that. If you don't mind, we will send it across to whomever you say we should send the request to. That is my first question, sir. And I think that will be an easy answer for you. So before you give me that answer, I would like to put across something which, as a ex-HAL man, and now with Atmanirbhar Bharat, which you have also very well explained how co-development is very essential. I would be very happy to hear from Rolls-Royce point of view, if there is no strategic reason for you not to answer that question, what is your contribution towards us finding an co-developed engine within India for our LCA?
LCA.
LCA. Combat aircraft.
LCA. Sorry.
Okay.
Hi, look. Okay. Which one do I take? The easy one or the hard one?
Easy
The
one.
hard one. I'll pick the hard one first. Look, LCA right now, it is not appropriate for me to speak when our competitors' engines are powering it, right? I mean, it is their strength that's powering it, and God be with them. But the point I always have in these matters is that even when you look at Delta Airlines, Emirates, Singapore Airlines, they always have an option, right? They have a Boeing aircraft, they have an Airbus aircraft. They have a Boeing engine, they have a GE engine, they have a Rolls-Royce engine. Now, do we have such choices when it comes to LCA? That's my first thing, right? You can keep building it in the same engine, same platform forever. So the question is there room for another player in that equation? And does it make sense to even have another player, right? Those are all considerations to be taken. But having said that, look, from our side, we offer the EJ200 engines, right? And they are very competitive, very efficient, proven products that are out there. And we competed on that, and it was a fair competition. And I think at the end of the day, the winner of it was GE on the LCA. So now, when I look at it and I say, what would I want to do with the LCA? Not much consideration has been given from my side, to be honest with you. And we don't believe, we are there to just go in there and try to disrupt things or do this or that. We are very happy with where we are. We have a very good product. If the Air Force were to come and ask us for advice on what can be done here or there, we're very happy to give it to them. So I'll leave that point pretty much there. And I think, I'm missing the other question, but the last question was, look, for your CRT events, we are always very happy to participate. As time permits, I'm very happy to participate, but otherwise you have Srini, who's the head of manufacturing with 240 people doing aerospace products in and out on a daily basis, dealing with suppliers, supply chain everywhere. And I think he'll be also a very senior person from our organization to represent us. And I think, between me, Srini, and if both of us are kind of time constrained, we'll find somebody. Because our goal is to participate with the industry. Our goal is to see what we can do to support the industry, grow the industry, and evolve with the industry. So I think choices are plenty. It is, there used to be a day when I was a one-man band, but now I'm running with a team of really strong people like Srini. And I think, it is not at all a problem for us to share our thoughts and learn from everyone.
Thank you very much. Thank you, sir.
Just to share with you that there is a relationship between BCIC and CRT in the area of aerospace skill development. So there is a relationship between these two organizations. Now, I just wanted to add one more question. Is Rolls-Royce doing, or are there any plans for business jet, the lower end of the engine, lower powered engine for the business jet?
Well, the business jet by itself, we got the Pearl engine that we just got all certifications. And, the Pearl engine is the latest and greatest in terms of business jet engines. I don't think any of our competition has an engine better than that, right? So I think we are very proud of that. We are building it on multiple platforms. We'll continue to do that. Now, those engines are basically fitted in with an aircraft. So when we design an engine, it's usually fitted around a structure, or the structure is fitted around the engine. So these two become inseparable, right? And hopefully they are inseparable. And so it is, we are looking for, anything. Recently, Force Motors had an aircraft they bought, an Embraer, which has a Rolls-Royce engine in it. I think Tata, Mr. Ratan Tata's aircraft is Rolls-Royce engine, powered engine. So business jets are not something that is still taken off in large scale in India. And if you were to watch American movies, you look at the government entities in the US, the FBI, CIA, all the cabinet members, they're all flying private jets. All the company CEOs fly private jets and their staff fly private jets. So America, private jets is like a very common thing, and that's common in Asia as well now. But India, it's not so very common. Only the rich and powerful people still have it. And it's not something that is an everyday business. But when it picks up, I think the right engines with the right products will always be there. Right. And we have very good products there, that area.
Thank you very much, Mr. Jayaraman. So if there are more questions, please come forward. Otherwise, I think I must say that in a very short time, you have covered the whole universe of Rolls-Royce, from all kinds of products and the whole range of activities, and what are the plans for India. But the most important one, which you said, and we should all keep in mind, is co-creating from India for the world. If we can focus our attention, if we can focus our forces in co-creating for the world together with Rolls-Royce, we will all be very happy. So with that, yeah.
It will be our privilege.
Yeah. So I think we would be happy if you are sometime with us in person and interact with us, some of the members. There are small and big members in BCIC. It will be a pleasure to host some of the events here where you could join. So with this, we could perhaps conclude. Niranjan,
Yes.
would you like to say a vote of thanks and conclude?
Absolutely. Yes, certainly. Thank you, Mr. Mishra. Mr. Jayaraman, thank you so much for your insightful talk in terms of where Rolls-Royce currently is and what are the plans for Rolls-Royce in India and how exactly India should shape up for being at the forefront in terms of what they're planning to do. So it was a wonderful talk. We allowed each and everything that you talked about. So from BCIC, we would like to thank you for having spent about an hour of your valuable time and sharing your thoughts with all our members. We thank you once again, and then pleasure was ours in listening to you as well. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you very much, Mr. Jayaraman.
Thank you very much. Thank you, Mr. Jayaraman.
Bye all. Have a great weekend.
Take care.
Bye-bye. Thank you.